We are back with another important matchup. Browns, Jags, Jacksonville making the trip up to Cleveland. We'll see whether it shouldn't be too scary for a Jacksonville team coming up north. But Drew, man, Flacco played one of the better quarterback games that we saw this year. Really seems like I don't think there's an argument for DTR coming back. I think if this team is going to make the playoffs, it's going to be Flacco moving forward here.
Yeah, who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? If the Cleveland Browns are going to make the playoffs, it has to be Joe Flacco who takes us there. That is something there. That is a sentence that is said on this podcast, and I think that it's actually true. I have a hard time saying it aloud. It sounds as wild to you all as it does for me to say, but 23 out of 44, that's not bad. 254 yards. I mean, he actually put up some numbers. They moved the ball fairly well when he was protected. He was sacked twice. What my concern is that is 46 called pass plays. And it's not like they were trailing this entire game, right? This game was very close. They weren't gashing the Rams like they did the Broncos in the previous week, but they still only ran the ball 23 times. I have a hard time looking at this head coach and thinking to myself, he is putting his quarterback in the best possible situation to succeed. You can't come in off the street. You can't come in as a fifth-round rookie and have your head coach call 50 passes in a game. I have an issue with that. And I'm hopeful that there's a hint of balance here. It cannot continue to be 66% of the time. 2 out of every 3 plays cannot be a called pass attempt for the Cleveland Browns to see success enough to make the playoffs the rest of this season.
We saw Jake Browning come in for the Bengals, pull off a win against Jacksonville. Browning looked really good. It's a battle of the backup quarterbacks in the AFC North, minus Lamar Jackson. Eric, our defense wasn't the defense that we saw in the beginning of the season, a little bit banged up, but Jacksonville's looking pretty banged up too. How are you looking at our defense coming in against Jacksonville?
Yeah, I mean, the motto was that defense travels. Well, obviously our defense does not travel and play well on the road for whatever reason. I mean, they got away with it about a month and a half ago in Indianapolis, but other than that, it's been a lot to be desired by this defense. But unless there's some type of miraculous recovery by Trevor Lawrence in the next few days, it's going to be CJ Beathard, a guy who has 59.5% completion percentages, 3,614 yards passing, 18 touchdowns, 14 interceptions per his career. So it's about time the defense makes CJ Beathard look like CJ Beathard or like Clayton Tune a few weeks ago. Obviously, if they could get Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett back on the field and playing respectively well to what they're capable of, I feel a lot better about this defense. But it was kind of encouraging to see Jim Schwartz throw out a couple blitzes last week in LA. Unfortunately, the veteran, I was going to say Matt Ryan. Matt Stafford was able to get the ball out quickly and get the ball to his targets to avoid that pass rush. So I'm hoping they can kind of do the same thing with success against Beathard this week. Not having Christian Kirk available for them is really going to hurt their passing game. So again, hopefully having Ward back, Cam Mitchell might be back from IR. That would really be a boost for the secondary, but they're going to have to still, kind of lock down on Evan Ingram and Zay Jones and Travis Etienne out of the backfield. So, I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities out there, especially with the back and the tight end with a younger, inexperienced quarterback. So, Yeah, ultimately it comes down to stopping the run. They have not been doing a good job of stopping the run, which has led to passing, success for the other team as well. Etienne's a good back, but yeah, they got to win at the line of scrimmage or the point of attack. It's been trap plays, it's been cutbacks, and it's been end rounds. These misdirection plays that Sean McVay ran last week was mind-numbing to watch for this defense. So they got to figure out a way to have success running around the edge and practicing the pursuit angles. But I think they can get it done, but they got a lot of work to do. And this isn't a very ferocious offense with all the losses. If they had a full healthy staff, I would definitely be a lot more concerned about this. But yeah, they're going to have to play the way they have been playing earlier this year at home. So might as well keep it up and do your job and take care of business.
It's hard to look back and say what if, but man, if this offense had Nick Chubb, if this offense had Deshaun Watson, especially Nick Chubb, and some of our offensive line pieces as well, having a healthy offensive line, we just wouldn't see these difficulties, or at least I'm assuming we wouldn't. Drew, I think we still have a pretty well-balanced offense going against that Jags defense. But I don't know if there's anything from the Bengals that we can pick up, sort of a special performance from the Bengals this past week.
Yeah, they got back to what they do best, which is their sort of downfield passing. That's how their entire team is built. That's their identity. And they went back to it. They said, I know we have a backup quarterback. He's not as good as the starter, but we're going to try to play the type of ball that we are capable of playing, that we're built to play. And until I see the Browns take that same approach with their backup running back, with some of the things that we see on the offensive line, they are trying to be something that they're not. And they have been that way for the last several games. And I just, I'm not one of the run the damn ball people out there that you see on Twitter that wants them to run 55 times a game and throw the ball 15, right? Like I'm not that type of a fan I'm not an analyst, but I think you get where I'm going with all this. I cannot see them drop back to pass something close to 50 times again. It would be the fourth week in a row of somewhere north of 45 pass attempts. And that is not their identity. That's not who they are. That's not what they're built to do. And I think they've gotten away from it these last couple of weeks. And it's not because the games were out of hand. It's because they called the games in a manner that doesn't play to their identity. And if you don't have an identity on offense, you get the type of performances that we've seen, these sputtering offense that every play, it looks like they're sort of lucky to hit it. There doesn't seem to be any sense of continuity. When they call a trick play, it's a disaster. I need them to get back to what they do best. Where are the outside zone runs? Where are the counter plays? Where's the pin pull concepts from the guards? You don't see that out of this offense. Then you haven't the last several weeks. I'm hoping against the suspect Jaguars defense at home that they get back to what they do best.
Eric, do you feel is there pressure on Stefanski? So many injuries. I question that, but there's also a lot of pressure on making it into the playoffs with this game. Everything seems to be tightening up. Some teams pouring it on towards the end here. How do you feel about Stefanski's long-term picture here and just our playoff hopes?
Yeah. I think these next 5 games are going to say a lot about Kevin Stefanski's future. We're not going against a gauntlet of teams in the next 5 weeks. They're all winnable games. I hope they win them all, but that's to be determined. We're going to face a backup quarterback, at least 2 backup quarterbacks playing the Bengals in a few weeks. And and obviously with the Jets without Aaron Rodgers, unless he magically comes back as well. So regardless of us not having our starting quarterback and them not having our better starting quarterback, we have the better roster as opposed to some of these teams. It's just a matter of how can we manage, how can we coach, how can we get the most out of our players. Yes, every team has injuries, and Stefanski said that he's not using that as an excuse, and I appreciate that. But now he's got to go out there and execute. And you saw what happened last week. It's looking like Amari Cooper's probably not going to play in this contest, and he's been our reliable main target as a receiving option. He had Flacco and Elijah Moore had a little bit of chemistry, 4 catches out of 12 targets, not great, but that's better than what Elijah Moore's done in the last 12 games prior to that. So we got to get the ball to our playmakers' hands. Preferably, we got to do the run plays. I'm kind of in Drew's boat where, I'd like to see more, creative runs. Doesn't have to be quantity of runs, just more creative runs. I just feel like they're just kind of mailing it in with the running game and seeing what can work in order to set up the passing game. And that's not our strengths, but Cedric Tillman's been developing. He's not great, but he's a third round rookie who's been getting more playing time. And with Cooper not potentially playing, you're going to see Tillman and Bell get more opportunities. Hopefully they can make the most of it. Hopefully we could see some development, and hopefully Joe Flacco is the guy that can get some of these young guys developed. Kind of another reason why I'm, not excited to see DTR to have rookie and a second-year guy right there as a key components for your offense. If this is 2017 and we were 1 whatever or 0 whatever, that's one thing, but we are 7-5 and we're fighting for the playoffs. So he's got, again, goes back to Stefanski. He's got a lot of manage. He's got to, kind of communicate with Schwartz of what he wants his defense to kind of do if, they have multiple guys out. And then on offense, what can we do to get points? What can we do to eat up clock? What can we do to rest our defense? Whatever it takes. The Steelers game a few weeks ago wasn't pretty. They won the game. I don't care if they win like that every single game the rest of the year, as long as they win. So it's if they go under 500, maybe even if they go 2-3 or worse, I feel really difficult about his situation going forward, but hopefully he can at least get 3 or 4 wins out of these next 5, and we'll be sailing into the playoffs.
I think there's risk with Flacco, but Flacco also adds the dimension of getting the ball downfield and developing those young wide receivers. Flacco was making different throws, spreading the ball around more. It seemed like, in comparison to any of our quarterbacks who have played this year. Flacco just adds that different dimension. Hopefully we see that again this weekend. Flacco experience in the poor weather, the elements. We'll see how bad the elements are this Sunday. Important one for the Browns. Let's go Browns.
Go Browns.
Browns.